Hey there, have you ever just stopped and wondered what makes you, well, you? We're about to jump into this really cool theory that says our personalities aren't just something we're born with. Instead, they're built piece by piece over our entire lives. So, let's get into it.
So, let me just ask you straight up. How did you become the person you are right now? I mean, what were those big moments, those key challenges that really put you on your path?
What if it isn't just one single thing? What if your personality isn't some fixed blueprint, but it's actually the result of working through a series of, conflicts or crises that pretty much every single one of us has to face on our journey through life?
That is the huge idea from a psychologist named Erikson. He looked at our whole lifespan and broke it down into 8 key stages. And each one has its own unique challenge. You can see them all right here, from the very beginning with trust versus mistrust, all the way to the end with integrity versus despair. This is basically our roadmap, so let's start walking through it.
All right, first things first. We gotta start where it all begins, our childhood. These initial 4 stages, this is where the absolute foundation of who you are gets poured and starts to set.
And just look at how fast this all happens. I mean, from the day you're born to the time you're about to become a teenager, you're hit with 4 enormous developmental questions, one right after the other. Let's break them down one by one.
Everything starts right here, in the first year and a half of your life. And the very first question you ever have to figure out is, can I trust this world? Is this place safe, or is it scary and unpredictable?
This is so fundamental. If your needs are met consistently, if you're fed, you're cared for, you develop trust. You learn the world is a pretty good place. But if not, that seed of mistrust gets planted. And that core anxiety, it can stick with you, making it way harder to form close bonds later in life.
And then comes the classic I do it myself phase, right? This stage is all about gaining a sense of personal control. Just picture a toddler who has to pick out their own shirt or pour their own milk. When they succeed, that builds autonomy, that amazing feeling of independence.
And that flows right into the next stage, between ages 3 and 5, which is all about taking initiative. You see this when kids start planning their own games, making up the rules, and leading their friends around. This is where we learn to assert ourselves. If that's encouraged, we feel capable. But if it's constantly shut down, we can be left with this nagging feeling of guilt.
Which leads us straight into the school years. All of a sudden, your world is jam-packed with social and academic stuff. You're learning to read, you're trying to figure out math, you're navigating playground politics. The big challenge here is to develop a real sense of competence.
And this really shows you the 2 paths you can go down. Success here gives you a feeling of industry, that pride in knowing, hey, I can do this. But if you struggle, it can lead to this awful feeling of inferiority, like you just don't measure up to everyone else.
Okay, so the foundation is there. Now we hit one of the most intense, most defining times in anyone's life, the teenage years. This is the big search for you. And this is it. This is the question. The one that drives absolutely everything. The music you love, the friends you have, the person you are desperately trying to figure out how to be.
So, Erikson called this stage identity versus confusion. This is that time when you're trying on different hats, exploring new beliefs, maybe pushing some boundaries, all in this big effort to figure out who you really are, separate from your family and your friends. So here's the bottom line. If you get through this stage successfully, you come out with a really solid sense of self that kind of guides you into adulthood. But if you don't, you can end up feeling totally lost, just really unsure of your place in the world. And that brings us to the rest of the journey, adulthood. The challenges here really shift, They go from who am I to things like how am I going to live and what am I going to leave behind? The adult journey really plays out in 3 big acts. First, it's about finding real connection. Then, it's about making your contribution. And finally, it's about looking back and finding peace with the life you've lived. So, once you have that sense of who you are, the very next challenge is, can you share that person with someone else? This is all about forming intimate, loving relationships, whether they're with a partner or with close friends. Success leads to connection, but failure can lead to some real loneliness and isolation.
Then, in our middle years, the focus kind of zooms out. We start asking, are we contributing to the world? Now, this could be raising a family, mentoring younger people, creating something meaningful at work, or getting involved in your community. It's about making something that's going to outlast you.
And finally, in our later years, we look back. This is the stage of integrity versus despair. And the question is simple. Can you look back on your life and feel a sense of peace, a sense of fulfillment? Or are you left with a bunch of regrets, feeling like it was all a waste?
So wow, we just flew through an entire lifetime in 8 stages. What's the big takeaway from all this? What's the point?
I think it's summed up perfectly by this idea. Erikson's theory really teaches us that we're never actually done. Your personality isn't some final destination you arrive at. It's this constant, lifelong journey of becoming who you are, shaped by every challenge you face. And maybe the most important part is that all of these stages are connected. They build on each other. Learning to trust as a baby helps you form deep relationships as an adult. Figuring out your identity as a teen helps you make a meaningful contribution later on. Each step you take prepares you for the next one. So, I'm going to leave you with this to think about. Looking at this map of life we just went through, which one of these big challenges, which one feels the most real to you, right here, right now? The answer might just tell you something really important about your own journey.